Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And Quilt Cut, easy fabric cutting for quilters. Hi, and welcome to Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community. I'm Mary Kate Karr-Petras, and with us back again is Nancy Smith.
Hi.
Nancy is probably best known to most quilters as one half of the team Possibilities, who've written many, many books, and also in her role as one of the owners of the Great American Quilt Factory here in the Denver area. But Nancy is exploring a new creative avenue these days.
Absolutely, and it's something that I've become so excited about. The best thing about it is that you can combine it with quilting. I haven't stopped quilting at all. In fact, I've done more quilting than ever, but I'm combining the Zentangles with quilting, so I love it, just love it.
And you're a certified Zentangle teacher.
I am. Yep.
In our, we've done one other episode with Nancy about Zentangles. So if you haven't seen that one yet, you might want to go back. In that one, Nancy went into more detail about Zentangles and what they do for you and all the benefits. So in this one, though, we're going to talk more specifically about using Zentangle for a sewing project.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think I did a pillow, and what I want you to realize is that it's so easy, and you can do it too. I think that's the thing. When people look at it and they say, well, I can't do it. And so I am just, that's my goal, to make it so easy for you that you realize, I could do that.
Okay.
And so that's what we're going to do.
Great.
Okay.
So you brought a couple of samples.
I did. And first of all, the pillow sample is what we're actually going to work on. And as complex as that might look, it actually is done with 3 Zentangle patterns.
Because to my eye, it does look complex. Like I look at that and I think, well, how do you even think to do that?
Yep. And part of it is because it's not planned.
Right.
That's the other thing that's really nice. This is just a sample of a wall hanging. It's not, it has some additional patterns to what we're going to be working on today. But in the first episode, I think I showed you how to do crescent moon. And there it is, right there. So you can start to pick them out and see the patterns and realize, well, I can do that. And it all makes it doable and easy. So
excellent.
if you want me to show you how to do the pillow, what I'm going to do is start out by showing you 2 new patterns. And we did Crescent Moon in the first section. And so I have another one, and this is called Knightsbridge. And this, again, is an original Zentangle pattern. And I want to give credit because Rick and Maria did a lot of work, and these are their patterns and ones that we learned while we were there.
I see.
Knightsbridge essentially is just a grid. And I've done some, again, in pencil because it makes it a little bit easier to see right here. And I'll just draw them out. What you have is this sort of a medium grid. So when you think about grid, and keep noticing that my lines aren't perfectly straight or anything. They're fine. What about if I did something like this?
On a much smaller scale.
Much smaller scale. This is grid. What about if I did something like this? A grid. So you have medium, small, large. What about if I did something like this? And did more like this? What if I did? That's a grid. So all of a sudden you say, from doing straight lines, all of a sudden you realize that, oh my gosh, I can do a lot with that. I can do them big, little, curved, all sorts of things. So if we could pull the pillow back a minute, I will just show you. This is Knightsbridge right here.
Okay.
So what I've done is I did a grid, then I did some smaller ones inside the larger ones, 4 patches, and all the quilters will know that. Here I filled in a few with just some straight lines going one way, going another way. I put some dots. I filled some in. And so here's just a regular checkerboard like. Here there's a line of them. So one pattern, and what you can do, and this is called Knightsbridge. So I have one other pattern I'd like to show you.
Okay.
And this is even easier than that one, and it's called Praym. Praym is a spiral. One spiral. So those of you who can do a circle going around. You'll notice how uneven it is, or maybe not very straight. There's a spiral. That's Praym. And so what we're going to be doing is just those in different sizes. We're going to put some behind others. Here's another way, and what this one does is it gives a little sparkle. So what you do is you do half of the spiral, stop, leave a space, do another ring around, leave another sparkle area right there. It's a light source area. And then you can bring that around. And you see what you have here is a light source area. So it's really fun. Bring the pillow back again, and we can show this is Praym. Now, I haven't done any light sources in this one, but there are smaller ones. Some are behind, little ones, big ones. As you see a couple over here. So already you're seeing, by breaking this down, you too can do this. You can do it this afternoon. That's what's really nice. So those, now you know 3 patterns. You know,
now we know 3.
Crescent moon, Praym, and Knightsbridge.
Okay, and what I loved that you said in the first episode, and bears repeating now, is that, you know, the line doesn't have to be perfect.
Not at all. I don't make perfect lines.
Okay.
So.
And that's part of the beauty of
and
the whole
that's the
thing.
really fun thing, that even I had a lady in class who had a sort of a shaky hand, and she said, I don't know if I can do this. And actually her shakiness of her hand added some real magic to it.
Interesting.
It was wonderful.
That's interesting.
So when you start out, in this case, this is a 12-inch pillow, and the center portion is 8 inches. So I've just made an 8-inch template here. And I'm going to put it on my piece of fabric. Again, fabric is going to be a little bit different. I use a lot of Kona cotton, but you could certainly use other things. Moda has a great white fabric that I use also. And so you're going to have to do some testing on the fabric. That's paper you don't usually have to do as much, but fabric is a little bit more tricky at some times. So what I've done is I've taken my template and put it on the piece of fabric, and then I just took a pencil and drew around, and you will see I have my 8-inch square right there.
And that's your stitching line or your boundaries for
that's
the design?
my boundaries. Yeah, boundaries. And so I'm going to do my design within that. And so then I have another piece I'll put together here where I can show you. What I've done is I've taken a piece of freezer paper and ironed it to the back. And most of you are, I think most people are familiar with ironing freezer paper. It makes it stiff, and I can draw on it, and it doesn't, you know, wiggle around quite as much. If it starts coming off, just repress it, re-iron it again. So then this would be my piece, and I'd be ready to go with that. A couple of things I wanted to show you: Sharpie pens, micron pens. There are a lot of different kinds of pens out there. Notice that these 2 pens, here's a Sharpie marker, here's a Sharpie pen. Big difference.
Yeah.
And so I think when you say Sharpie, don't automatically assume that it's going to be a marker.
Not the fine or the extra fine, but go for the pen.
Go for the pen. And so I do use these. They're both permanent. This one has quite an odor to it, and you just have to be ready for it.
Something to think about if you're spending a lot of time.
It
with
is.
the pen.
If you're really doing a lot of fill-in, it's wonderful and it goes quickly. But on the other hand, it bleeds. And it might bleed on fabric, so you have to test everything. And sometimes if I had an area that was a big area like that, I'd only go sort of up to the edge, and then I'd fill it in with something else. Because if I go right to the edge, it might bleed. A lot of testing with your pens for doing this on fabric. These also, the micron pens that we talked about in the first section, I have a 1, but then I have a 5 and an 8. So I have other ones too that make it a little easier to fill in. So don't go overboard on pens, but be sure you have what you want to work with. I had another little technique here that I thought you might find fun. Sometimes it's hard to just take your pencil and draw it on fabric. This is what I've done. I've taken a piece of freezer paper, drew on the freezer paper, and then if I made, you know, something that I didn't like or didn't want to do, I'd just pull out the freezer paper and get another piece. You can see through this. So if you can see right through here, so here's my outside border, and I can put it in pencil if I want. Go right through like that. And then I can draw the string, and I have a guideline. And I sort of like that. It doesn't have to be exact, but I can go ahead and pull it through, and slipping on the paper here.
And again, the strings are just sort of freehand lines that you draw,
Freehand.
and just a place to start
Yep,
laying down your
it
patterns.
is. It's where to put your patterns. So this is going to be similar to the pillow, and I'm going to put Knightsbridge all in this area. So you fill these different areas or different sections with pattern, with Zentangle patterns. You can repeat patterns, you can do a number of different things, but that was an easy way to get started. I like doing that, and so that worked for me. So from there, it's just you start out and you start filling in your patterns. There is a similar piece, and look, I left the negative space.
Yeah.
I liked leaving that. Plus, I knew that I wanted to do some quilting. And so I wanted an area where it would show. In this, a couple of things that we didn't talk about in the first segment is doing some shading. So even with pencil, I can go in here and I can add some
Yeah, it really
shading.
adds a lot of contouring.
And what you do is you want to get that rolling feel and maybe here a little bit of shading. And in this, anything that goes underneath, you can shade it a little bit. So here it goes underneath. So you can see there's a little bit of shading. Shading is sort of playing with it. It's not really the big thing about a light source, and some people do it that way. I don't.
Okay.
And then what you do is you're already here, you finish doing your patterns, and I've drawn a 1/4 inch, and so my 8 inch and then a 1/4 inch for the seam allowance where I'd put it together for a pillow. So then I would cut it out with a rotary cutter right along and give myself an 8.5 inch square
Okay.
for the pillow top. And so from there, the next statement, next project would be to cut your border pieces. And here, I'll slip that under there. And I've got 2 pieces that are 8.5 inches for, like, it would be the top and the bottom of a pillow. And so, see, I've got a little frame right around there. And
Just
then
gives it a little breathing space.
little breathing space, and that one, and then I would have pieces that would come right along there. So from there, I've assembled my pillow top, and this would be the next step, and they're sewn together, and now I have it ready for quilting. So I did pin the corners, but I have a lining, a batting, and then the top, and you see my little bit of a frame going around there. It doesn't have to be exact either.
Right.
This is not an exact science. This is a creative
Right.
endeavor. So then quilt as desired.
Quilt as desired. It's our favorite.
Our favorite phrase.
Yeah.
And so how could I tell you how to quilt
But
this?
that does scare some people, quilted desired.
Does
Then
it?
they feel like, oh, but I
Okay.
don't know how to do this. But it seems like this gives you a great place to start. If you've got so much pattern going on in here,
That's
that even if you
true.
just echo it.
That's true. That's true. And you can see that, I mean, I could quilt right along there and right along here. Or I can quilt, I quilted right in here. We can look at the pillow again. And what I did was, I like this area, so I quilted some in here. I did spiral quilting around in
Yep.
these. That was fun. And then these I just stitched on the line. So it was the most fun to do, and love doing it. It works with paper, it works with fabric, and it's a wonderful project
It's just
to
an
do.
instant decor piece
It
for your
is.
home. And you
Yep.
just finished it with a simple envelope back.
Envelope back,
However you want
yep.
to finish your
I
pillow
don't do
case.
zippers.
I like envelope bags.
I do too.
Easy.
Zippers are not in my vocabulary.
Well, and it just goes along with your whole,
Nice and easy.
Nice and easy, exactly. This
Right.
is lovely. Again, thank you so much for coming
You're
and
welcome.
sharing this technique. I know a lot of quilters have been using Zentangle as a way to kind of free up their creativity and come up with background quilting patterns, and this is just one more application for it.
I think it increases your creativity, and I think that people become more aware of pattern and design, and also the fact that they can do it. I mean,
Yeah.
because I've worked with some really novice quilters, and I show them this, and they go, I can do that. And it's encouragement for moving on and doing other things. So I love it.
Well, I've
love
never
it.
given it a try because I don't consider myself a doodler,
Okay, I'm
But
not.
I might actually give this a try.
This isn't doodling. This is different.
It sure
This is
is.
really a wonderful meditative type process. So paper, fabric, whatever.
Beautiful.
Works.
Thanks so much for
Thank
coming.
you. Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye. Quilters Newsletter TV, the Quilters community, is brought to you by Handy Quilter, designed by a quilter for quilters. Sulky, express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence. Brother, it's so easy with Brother at your side. And Quilt Cut, easy fabric cutting for quilters.